The Australian federal government has enacted radical workplace legislation designed to greatly reduce the power of trade unions. Singled out for special treatment is the building industry. The government has created a body called the Australian Building and Construction Commission and empowered it to summons workers to secret interrogations. If they do not attend, they face up to 6 months jail, and 6 months jail if they refuse to answer questions, and 6 months jail if they tell anyone, including their family, about the questions they were made to answer. They can be summoned to these interrogations for simply attending a workplace meeting. Brodeen Wardley is a single mum with 3 kids who lives in Portland in rural Victoria. She had been employed as a crane driver at the Hamilton Mineral Sands plant and elected as a health and safety rep. One morning in February 2006, Brodeen had been at work just a few minutes when she was approached by a distraught colleague.
He was basically a nervous wreck. He had control of the 10 men on the bus plus himself, and he nearly got wiped out by a train. We obviously kept everyone was kept in the crib huts until such time as we deemed it to be safe enough to warrant going home at the end of the day, and that was all the action the OH&S took.
The dispute was quickly resolved, and Brodeen thought that was the end of the matter. 3 months later, however, she received a summons from the ABCC.
I was summoned about the middle of April this year to appear before the hearing and the Commissioner to discuss the case. It was an official summons. I had to appear in court, otherwise I'd be jailed for 6 months.
When Union Delegate Peter Ballard arrived at work on the 24th of February 2006, he was expecting another difficult day. The Mandurah Rail project in Perth had seen long-running disputes over safety and excessive overtime. The workers and the company, Leighton's Kumagai, were at loggerheads. A meeting had been scheduled for that morning to discuss some of the ongoing issues. Instead, Leighton's had sacked Peter Ballard without notice.
The boys were coming up saying, "Did you get the sack?" And I said, "Well, I don't know, but there's a few more bob in the bank what I had last night." And I surmised that I did. And I mean, actually, the blokes just said straight up, "Well, we're going out." They said it before the meeting.
And yeah, right, you've been sacked. I can't sack you, you're the shop steward, elected by us, the men on the job. And it was right, he was sacked.
There had been constant concerns about safety on the job, and the sacking of their elected representative was the final straw for many of the employees. They voted to go on strike until Peter Ballard was reinstated.
The only thing that I had to offer Leighton's, which they wanted from me, was my labour. And if they weren't going to listen to me, the only thing that I could take from them that they wanted from me was my labour. So I withdrew my labour, which I thought in a democratic country you'd be able to do.
The Commission wouldn't hear Peter's case unless we returned back to work. So after 2 weeks on the grass, we returned back to work and with our tail between our legs.
The employees continued working on the project, unaware that the ABCC was preparing to launch a huge case against them. Over 4 months after the dispute was resolved, writs began to be served against individual workers.
And that was the start of the huge worry then, being served with these writs, because the fines were up to $28,600, which ordinary working class people haven't got.
In all, 107 workers would be personally served with writs, threatening fines and jail terms for having taken part in the strike.
Through the media coverage and whatnot, when it was first talked about, we were going to jail. That was the first scare tactic that they threw on us. And my kids, it hit my kids hard, very hard. It tore me almost in two to see my kids in that way, that they were petrified they're going to lose their dad. They come out one night with their money boxes and said, I think one had $8 or $9 and the other one had, $6 or $7. Said, "Oh, Dad, here, we want you to have our money boxes because we don't want you to go to jail." And that ended me. I didn't know how to, you know, I felt like a proud dad, but emotionally it shut me down, you know.
I can't talk about going in there. I'm not allowed to talk about that. If I was to discuss anything that happened within the hearing, I'll be jailed for 6 months and fined.
It still comes back to that one point, that if you can't stand up and say what you feel and believe, then you're a slave. And I ain't no slave.
Shake it. Got to stir